Welcome back and welcome to another tour. Today we are at the Columbia Metropolitan Airport in South Carolina. We are here today to talk about and find the location of an event that happened in 2008. In September 2008, Blink-182 drummer Travis Barker faced the ultimate test of survival when he was involved in a devastating plane crash. Boarding a private jet with his friend DJ AM as well as two others, the plane never made it off the ground. The plane veered off the runway, resulting in the deaths of 4 people on board. If this is your first tour with us, what we do here is we find locations of interesting or historical events here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we discuss what happened, but we're not recreating the crash. Let's get the plane started, and we will fly the area around the airport while we discuss what happened that day. Today in the simulator, we are flying the Cessna 172 Skyhawk, which is a 4-seat, single-engine, high-wing, fixed-wing aircraft made by the Cessna Aircraft Company. The plane that was involved in this incident in 2008 was a Bombardier Learjet 60, with the registration number November 999 Lima Juliet. The Learjet 60 is a mid-size cabin, medium-range business jet-style aircraft manufactured by the Bombardier Aerospace Company. Let's get the plane started so we can start today's tour. The airport we are at is the Columbia Metropolitan Airport. It has the airport code CAE. It's a public use airport located in West Columbia, South Carolina, approximately 5 miles southwest of downtown Columbia. We'll be flying over Columbia in today's tour. It serves as the primary airport for the Midlands region of South Carolina. The airport is owned and operated by the Richland-Lexington Airport District. The airport has 2 primary runways, one numbered 11 and 29 in either direction, which is 8,601 feet long, and a second runway, which is numbered 5 and 23 on either direction, which is 8,001 feet long. The airport has been in operation since 1940. In 1941, the airport came under formal military control and was turned into a military airfield on 8 December 1941, and it became the Columbia Army Air Base. It was a training base for the B-25 Mitchell crews. On November 30th, 1945, it was returned to the civil authorities, which then converted it back into a civil airport. The engine is started, the aircraft is set up. We can now taxi to runway 11 for departure. Travis Barker, born on November 14, 1975 in Fontana, California, is one of the most iconic drummers in modern music. His love for percussion began early, with his mother gifting him his first drum set at the age of 4. Despite her passing when Travis was 13, her encouragement drove him to pursue his passion for music. Travis gained initial recognition as the drummer for punk rock bands like the Aquabats, but his big break came in 1998 when he joined Blink-182. The band's 1999 album Enema of the State propelled them to international fame with hits like All Small Things and What's My Age Again? Known for his energetic drumming style, Travis brought a unique edge to Blink-182's sound, influencing a generation of musicians. Beyond Blink-182, Travis is a versatile artist who has collaborated across genres, working with hip-hop, pop, and electronic artists. His solo projects and his duo, Travis DJ AM, showcased his ability to blend punk and electronic music seamlessly. Despite personal and professional challenges, including surviving this event in 2008, Travis's resilience has solidified his status as a drumming legend. Today, he continues to innovate while inspiring fans worldwide with his artistry and determination. Travis Barker had spent much of 2008 reinvigorating his music career. Alongside DJ AM, he had recently completed a series of performances as part of their duo act, Travis DJ AM. The pair blended live drumming with DJ sets, thrilling audiences with their innovative fusion of punk rock and electronic music. On the evening of September 19, 2008, Travis Barker and Adam Goldstein, aka DJ AM, performed with Jane's Addiction singer Perry Farrell and Gavin DeGraw at the T-Mobile Street Party in 2008, held at 5 Points in Columbia, South Carolina. After their set, they headed to Columbia Metropolitan Airport to board a private jet that would take them to Van Nuys, California. Accompanying them on the flight were Travis's assistant, Chris Baker, and security guard Charles Still. In addition to the 4 passengers, there was 2 pilots, Sarah Lemon and James Bland. It was on September 19, 2008, at 11:47 p.m. when the Bombardier Learjet Model 60, owned by Inter Travel and Services Incorporated and operated by Global Exec Aviation, and its 2-person crew was preparing for departure and was given clearance to taxi to runway 11. We are ready for departure. The captain was hired by Global Exec Aviation on January 4th, 2008, and the first officer was hired on August 8th, 2008. This flight was the crew member's second flight of the day, and they had previously flown together twice. The captain held an airline transport pilot ATP certificate for multi-engine land airplanes with type ratings for a Cessna CE-500, issued on June 18, 2005, the Learjet 60, issued on October 25, 2007, and the Cessna CE-650, issued on January 19, 2008. The captain had accumulated about 3,140 hours total flight time, including about 2,040 hours of being the pilot in command, PIC. She had accumulated about 35 hours in the Learjet 60, and about 8 hours of that were as pilot in charge. The first officer that day held an ATP certificate for multi-engine land airplanes with type ratings for the Learjet 60, issued on March 1, 2007, and the Cessna CE-500. The first officer had accumulated about 8,200 hours total flight time, including about 7,500 hours as pilot in charge, and about 300 hours in the Learjet 60. We are heading east towards downtown Columbia. We are approaching the Congaree River, and on either side of it you will see large granite quarries that have been operating for about 150 years. The flight crew followed the taxi clearance, which involved back taxiing the airplane on runway 11 and performing a 180-degree turn on the runway to position the airplane for takeoff. At 11:51 p.m. and 22 seconds, the captain briefed the takeoff procedure and stated, "We've got plenty of runway, so we'll abort for anything below 80 knots, or V1 rotation speed, for any malfunctions, and after that speed, we'll go ahead and take it into the air and treat it as an in-flight emergency." You can now see downtown Columbia to our left, and we are also approaching 5 Points. 5 Points is a shopping, restaurant, and nightlife area. It's considered a neighborhood shopping district and is named for the 5 points that are formed at the intersection of Hardin Street, Divine Street, and Santee Avenue. And this is where Travis performed with Adam during the T-Mobile Street Party that day in 2008. Based on the cockpit voice recorder recovered after the crash, the captain initiated the takeoff, and at 11:55 and 1 second, the first officer stated, "80 knots, cross-check," to which the captain replied, "Check." The first officer reported V1 rotate speed. About 1.5 seconds later, the cockpit voice recorder captured the beginning of a loud rumbling sound. 0.4 of a second after the beginning of that loud rumbling sound, the first officer stated, "Go." The captain stated something unintelligible, and at 11:55 and 13 seconds, the first officer stated, "Go, go, go." The voice recorded a sound similar to a metallic click, and at 11:55 and 14 seconds, the captain questioned, "Go?" Post-accident studies estimated that about this time the airplane's ground speed reached a peak of about 144 knots. And then the first officer then asked, "No?" "All right," followed by, "Get out, what the hell was that?" The voice recorded another metallic click sound at around 11:55 and 17 seconds, and the captain stated, "I don't know, we're not going though." At 11:55 and 18 seconds, another metallic click sound was recorded, and at 11:55 and 19 seconds, the captain stated, "Full out." Post-accident studies indicated that the airplane was now decelerating. Within a second, the voice recorder captured a sound consistent with the application of wheel braking. And at 11:55 and 21 seconds, the voice recorder captured a sound consistent with the nose wheel steering disconnect warning tone. The nose wheel steering disconnect means that the mechanism, which allows a pilot to steer the aircraft's nose wheel using the rudder pedals, had been disengaged. About 7 seconds later, the first officer stated, "Shut them off." And at 11:55 and 32 seconds, the first officer stated, "They're shut off, they're shut off." At 11:55 and 36 seconds, the first officer made a radio transmission to the airport control tower saying, "Roll the equipment, we're going off the end." The recording then ended at 11:55 and 41 seconds. A controller in the tower who observed the airplane's takeoff reported that the beginning of the takeoff appeared normal, but then, when the airplane was partway down the runway, sparks appeared that seemed to be coming from the airplane's right main landing gear. Now we will head back to the airport to find the location of the actual crash. The two surviving passengers, Travis and Adam, stated that during the takeoff roll, the airplane was shifting and swaying back and forth all the way down the runway, and that the airplane felt out of control from the start. They reported that the airplane felt as if it blew a tire, and then the airplane leaned to the right, almost like a wing had touched the ground. The controller observed that the airplane went straight off the end of the runway. The airplane passed through a 1,000-foot runway safety area and then struck some airport lighting and navigation antennas, and then descended a steep downhill slope before striking a lighting pole and the perimeter fence. The airplane then struck a concrete highway marker post, crossed a 5-lane road, and struck a second concrete post and an embankment on the far side of the road. The controller stated that when the airplane struck the hill, the airplane stopped and exploded into a fireball. Both the surviving passengers stated that the nose of the airplane went up and down at least twice before the final impact. Debris from all 4 main landing gear tires was found on the runway. Travis and Adam managed to escape the wreckage. Travis, who was the passenger in the aft right seat, stated that as soon as the airplane came to a stop, a fire erupted in the cabin. He stated that he remembered being told that there was an exit near him and that he turned around and went to the aft exit door on the right and did what the instructions said to do. He stated that he did not remember if there were instructions or arrows or what on the exit that showed how to open it, but stated that he did somehow open it, and without much difficulty, and jumped out onto the wing of the airplane. He recalled that he went through more fire, which was actually burning jet fuel outside of the airplane. He ran away from the airplane, although he was now on fire. He said within 5 seconds the airplane then burst into an even bigger fire. He stated that as he ran, he pulled off his burning clothes. Now traffic was stopping along the roadway, and one of them who stopped yelled for him to stop, drop, and roll. He said, like we were taught when we were kids. Adam was the passenger in the aft left seat and stated that the airplane went up and back down hard a couple of times before the airplane's final very, very hard impact. He said he saw something or someone fly up and hit the ceiling in the forward cabin. He stated that he may have been unconscious for a few seconds, but that he saw Travis get up and yell, "We gotta go, we gotta go." He indicated that he didn't know where the exit was behind him, but that Travis went right to it and opened it and leapt straight out into a wall of flames. Adam said that he went to the exit and tried to stay to the left to avoid the fire that Travis had just gone through, and he jumped out. He indicated that when he landed on the ground, he was on fire as well, and he began rolling to put himself out. One of the witnesses to the crash was William Owens. He was driving near the airport when he witnessed the crash. In an interview with E! News on October 24, 2008, he described seeing the plane as a ball of fire going across the road. He recounted how he saw two men, later identified as Travis and Adam, emerge from the wreckage engulfed in flames. He noted the helplessness of the situation, stating that we couldn't help the others because now close to a minute had passed and the plane was completely burning. We are on the ground on runway 11. Let's taxi to the far end and see where the plane went off the runway during this accident. Travis, in a 2015 interview with Larry King, provided a first-hand account of the crash. He recalled the plane's tires blowing out during takeoff, leading to a series of impacts before the aircraft was engulfed in flames. Travis described the chaotic scene, mentioning how he and Adam managed to escape the burning plane and extinguish the flames on their bodies. Emergency responders quickly arrived at the scene, pulling Travis and Adam away from the wreckage and rushing them to Joseph M. Still Burn Center in Augusta, Georgia. Both men were placed in critical condition. Travis would go on to have more than 27 surgeries and skin grafts during his recovery, enduring excruciating pain and a long road of physical rehabilitation. Sadly, Chris Baker and Charles Monroe Still Jr. died in the crash, as did the two pilots, Captain Sarah Lemon and First Officer James Bland. After the runway, there is this runway safety area. This is part of the airport. And if we keep going out in this direction, we will see that the aircraft traveled across this, and then we will come to Edmond Highway, also known as SC-302. And this is the roadway that the plane crossed and came to a stop at the far side when it crashed into the embankment. The aircraft struck some airport lighting and navigation antennas. It traveled over a downhill slope before striking a light pole in the perimeter fence at the airport. The airplane then struck a highway marker, crossed a 5-lane road, and struck a second concrete post at the other side. Although not accurately depicted here in the simulator, this would be the area where the aircraft came to a stop. Now let's head back to the aircraft and get it off the runway and into a parking spot. For Travis, the physical scars were only part of the ordeal. The emotional toll of losing close friends and narrowly escaping death was overwhelming. He later revealed that survivor's guilt haunted him for years, intensifying his struggles with anxiety and depression. Adam grappled with the psychological impact of the crash as well, which exacerbated his struggles with drug addiction. Tragically, less than a year later, Adam passed away from a drug overdose. Travis's recovery process was grueling. The burns on his body required multiple surgeries, and the pain was nearly unbearable at times. But surviving the crash was a turning point for Travis. The experience prompted him to reevaluate his life and prioritize his health and family. In the years that followed, he quit using prescription painkillers, adopted a vegan diet, and embraced fitness as a cornerstone of his recovery. He also began flying again after years of avoiding air travel, conquering the fear of that crash. He credits his children with giving him the strength to persevere through the darkest moments of his recovery. "I didn't want my kids growing up without a dad," he said in a 2015 interview with Billboard. "I knew I had to fight to stay alive for them." Travis channeled his pain into his music, using it as an outlet for expression and healing. Blink-182's 2011 album, Neighborhoods, reflects some of the emotions he grappled with in the aftermath of the crash. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, conducted an investigation into this Learjet 60 crash. The report, released in 2009, determined that underinflated tires caused the aircraft tires to fail during takeoff at the Columbia Metropolitan Airport. This failure led to the plane skidding off the runway at high speed, crashing through barriers and erupting into flames upon impact. The NTSB noted that the underinflated tires compromised their structural integrity, resulting in multiple tire blowouts. The investigation also revealed that the pilots were not adequately trained to handle such emergencies and failed to follow standard procedures to abort the takeoff safe. Maintenance logs indicated that all 4 main landing gear tires were new when installed in December of 2007 and had accumulated a total of 20 landings at the time of the accident. Global Exec Aviation's Director of Maintenance estimated that the tire pressures may not have been checked for about 3 weeks before the accident. Lost in the crash were the pilot, Sarah Lemon. She was the captain of the flight. Her mother, Sue Ellen Lemon, says about Sarah, as a young girl, she wanted to go flying. So I thought I would send her up in a small aircraft and see if that would scare the bejesus out of her and perhaps dampen her aeronautical inclinations. But she loved it. Her family is from Mount Vernon, Washington, and she was 31 at the time of the crash. The co-pilot was James Bland. James loved to fly anything, from his own Beechcraft Bonanza to a Learjet to a Black Hawk helicopter. He was licensed to fly them all, and he did fly them all. He was a resident of Carlsbad, California, and he was 52 at the time of the crash. Chris Baker, he was the personal assistant to Travis Barker. He lived in Studio City, California, and he was 29 years old at the time of the crash. Charles Still. Charles had been a friend of Travis's since high school and sometimes worked as his bodyguard. He was 25 years old at the time of the crash. Well, that was the story about the 2008 plane crash that Travis Barker and Adam Goldstein survived. Unfortunately, 4 others were not so lucky.